Heck yeah, open up a cold
All right.
one. Opening up a cold one with the boys. With the boys. Let's start this bad boy in five, four, three, two. Hey everybody, welcome to a fresh new issue. That's right.
Uh,
I've been thinking about that all week. Of Speak Freely. I am, of course, your host as always, Mr. Freely, along with Mr. Speak Kuno. My friend, how are you?
I'm good.
I'm
A
good
little bit
too, man.
tired, but I didn't ask you. I was still on mine.
You know what? That's fair. It's me to assume. You got to bleep up. Now you got to bleep the F word because I said that within the first minute.
Oh man.
See what you do to me, man. But for real, how are you?
I'm tired, but I'm good. How are you?
You don't want to know. Anyways, let's go on to the segment. No, man, I'm good. I've had a really long day. I've been up since 6 a.m. in the morning, my time,
Mm,
which would mean 4 a.m. your time, because
mm-hmm.
I have a morning gig, a torch gig, as I like to say, and it was the last one before I move. Bittersweet. I really like the musicians there. They were really cool, despite being Christian, which whatever, right? But they were really cool humans down on Earth, and they were fun to play with. So I'm gonna miss playing with them. But I'm also super excited about the fact that I got like 2 weeks left here, pretty much, and then I'm out of here. Excited
Oh,
and nervous because it's like real now. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
You're getting down to the wire.
Yeah, I'm getting down to the wire. So I'm finishing up work this week. I'm gonna try to finish up some projects I have pending, just because I got to finish up the short film I'm composing because they wanted it by August, and between the move, I don't want to have to deal with working on that while moving. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So,
Yeah.
and Shimono keeps me busy for the most part. So, why are you tired? Long day at work?
Oh,
Long week
long
of work?
week. Long week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you worked. Dang, dude. Yeah, cause like you guys are opening up. Are you guys at 100% yet over there or
Yeah.
no?
It's 100% capacity and just lines down the street. It's crazy.
That's nuts, dude.
Yeah. It feels like 2020 never happened, you know?
Pros and cons of that, right? Like, let's just get
Yeah.
into it before we get into our topic. Like, it feels nice. If I'm being completely honest, it feels nice feeling like, oh, life, normalcy. You know what I mean? But at the
Hmm.
same time, I'm kind of like, but that fucking thing is still out there. You know what I mean? And it and
Yeah.
it has a little brother now that's apparently more vicious, depending if you're vaccinated or not. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know. For me personally, this is totally the Texan in me, and I'll admit it. The minute I got that vaccine, and it was like 3 weeks after I got it. I know it's supposed to be two, but I waited three. I was like, I don't care. Spit on me, shaking all the hands, like, let's go, baby. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
like, and I know statistically, it doesn't mean that I won't get the new strand, which I think they're calling Delta affectionately, the Delta strand.
Delta.
But apparently, like, if you're vaccinated, especially if you have like Pfizer, you're like good. Like, the worst case scenario that they've had so far is like, oh, it feels like a really bad flu, but nothing like serious. You know what I mean? So I'm like,
Hmm.
if I get it, I get it at this point. That's fine.
That's
So
crazy because it still feels weird to me when people like reach out for a handshake. I'm like, I still don't know what to do, like if it's proper protocol or not. Um,
I'll do. We're doing open mouth kissing when we hang out. Just all
I
the
think
tongue, baby.
I I didn't guess your song, so I don't know if I deserve that.
They have no idea what we're talking about, but
But yeah, it's been an adjustment period, really, right? Because also like you go into some places and you feel judged for wearing a mask. Other places you feel judged for not wearing a mask.
yeah, it's
It's
weird.
yeah, it's kind of touch and go.
Yeah, for me, and I'm very curious to see what the social climate is in California, but here it's mostly been you look funny wearing a mask. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like here it's like the minute the governor said no more mask mandate, Texans are like, "Why are you still wearing a mask? What are you, superstitious?" You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
even like just everywhere. It's kind of funny how ready Texas was to be like "F this, dude," and just be like nothing happened legitimately. Whereas I know like California, because it tends to be a little bit more left leaning, which I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
I know people are still like, yeah, but I'm still wearing my mask. Like, there's a lot of people I know out there that are like, yeah, I'm vaccinated. I've been vaccinated for a month, but I'm still wearing my mask. Whereas, like, here, the mentality is, what's the point of getting vaccinated if I still need to wear my mask? You know what I mean? Like, the mentality is
Yeah.
like, then why do we get the vaccine? If we still got to wear a mask, then that means the vaccine doesn't work and we just all wasted our time. And if I'm being honest, I'm like, yeah, fair point. Like, what's the point of us getting the vaccine if I still got to wear this bleeping mask? You know what I mean? Now, that
Hmm.
being said, depending on where I am, I'll wear it. You know what I mean? But for the most part, I've kind of like not really worn it when I've gone out to public, like in restaurants or if I movie theater recently. Like the first time I went to
Hmm.
movie theater, masks. The next two times, I was like, don't care, no more masks, especially because it wasn't mandated anymore. So I don't know. It'd be interesting. Am I an asshole, Brian?
No, not at all. I mean, it's going to come down to whatever you feel comfortable with. But yeah, I guess some people are just quicker to adapt than others. Because I still wear a mask every so often. Yeah.
And I think that's fair too. I think this is a cop out answer, but this is really what I believe when it comes to that. Do what you fucking feel like doing. Whatever makes you feel comfortable, whatever makes you feel safe, just do it. And the rest of us shouldn't belittle somebody else for doing what they feel is right for them. It's one thing if someone's doing it and being obnoxious about it. Like if, for example, if I was like, if it was maybe like, why are you still wearing your mask, bro? What are you? Some kind of, some kind of pussycat? I don't know what kind of insult I would use. But you know what I mean? Like, "Wait, what are you? Some kind of wuss? Are you a
Yeah.
wussy?
Golly
Man
gee
up!
willikers, mister. You're some kind of pussycat.
Hey, look at here. You just use some kind of turkey leg, man. Just
Yeah.
go like 1920s insult.
Yeah.
Um, no, but you know what I mean. Like that's one thing if I'm doing it and then using it as like, look at me, I'm superior than you, kind of a complex
Oh,
on both
yeah.
sides, sans mask or with mask. Because I've seen a lot of people wearing masks and are like, you bunch of fucking, oh, you're fucking assholes for not wearing. And it's like, bro, like calm down. Like
Like,
if we believe the
dude, you're straight edge. We get it. All right.
yeah, yeah, we get it. You're better than us. Straight edge means you're better than us. That's an old joke that no one's gonna get. But you know what I mean? Like I'm at a point now. I'm like, just do what feels right for you. As long as you're not bothering me, like that's really what I care about more than anything. So,
Right.
anyways, but I'm glad you're working. I'm sorry it's been hella busy, but I'm glad you're working. Work is a blessing. So, especially right
That's
now
what I
since
have to remind myself every day.
like yeah, not everyone has a job that they kind of sort of like. So, this job would be great without all these people here. You people. But anyways, let's move on to our favorite segment of the show, which is news of the week that matters to us. And I'll let you go first, my dude. What is some news of the week that matters to you?
I had something and I lost it. Oh, that's right. So we are recording this on Sunday because plumbing issues happened. Um, but Sunday is the MLB amateur draft, right? So there's I think it's like only 5 rounds this year of draft picks, but the Angels selected a pitcher out of Miami who's throwing like 101 miles an hour, and they're going to develop him as possibly as a starter. So I'm looking forward to that. He seems like he's got some really good stats. if you're a stats kind of guy. But yeah, finally, Angels getting some kind of pitching in the minor league system.
That's good. I'm happy to hear that. Angels, what's their record right now? As I'm
They
looking it up.
are depending on whether they won today or not. Let's see.
I think they
Actually,
did win today. Oh, they're 9 games. I keep
they
forgetting we're in the same division.
because it's not even fair the way that it's set
Uh,
up.
45-44 is their
So
record.
one game above 500, which is good because going to the All Star break, that's where we really wanted to be, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
the three highest paid players on the Angels have not played together for more than I think like 75% of the games.
Dude, Trout is still injured, right?
Yep, Trout's gone. Rendon is injured again for the third time this season.
Shocker.
And then Justin Upton also injured. So the three
Y-
highest paid players not playing, and the Angels are still at 500. Like, a game above 500, which is perfect, right? Because
Let's
now that we
go
got
for it.
the Trout coming back, Rendon
Hmm.
hopefully coming back, Justin Upton, all he needed was some more rest time coming back. Now it's time to like you know how do you, I don't in Spanish like ponte las pilas,
Yeah,
like it's go time.
let's go time. Apunate las
Yeah.
pilas. Honestly, dude, that record is all Otani, dude. Every time I get an update, it's like, look what Otani did today. I'm just like, that fucking kid. Look at Otani striking this guy out and getting a home run in the same game.
In the same.
Yeah, dude. So it's not a bad record. Houston right now is doing good. We finally got a game above Yankees today, but they took the series, the 3-game series.
Hmm.
Um, and then my NL team, the Mets, they're doing moderately okay. They blew it today, but yeah, I haven't. If I'm being honest, I haven't been keeping up with baseball this last couple of weeks, mostly because for me, I've been intensely following all the soccer tournaments, Copa America and then the Euro
Uh,
Cup.
England and Italy played today, right?
Yeah, and then yesterday was Argentina and Brazil.
That's right.
So it's been fun. I mean, if I'm being honest, I think my favorite sport is soccer, and then second favorite sport is baseball. And it's like the international tournaments, you know what I mean? Which only come every so often, or not every
Hmm.
year. So it's like, I'm gonna pay attention to this right now. So
Oh yeah.
that's been the thing I've been watching, and for all the hardcore football fans out there, they know all the finals were this weekend, and then Copa de Oro started this weekend too, which is like the North American, Caribbean, uh, soccer tournament. So that should be interesting to see how
Yeah.
Mexico's gonna do in the
One
United
of
States.
the line cooks, he's from Guatemala, and so he's
Guat-
super pumped.
you know how Guatemala got into the soccer tournament because
I
they didn't
sure do.
qualify.
Yeah, he told me
Gu-
that.
So okay, so for those of you who don't know, Guatemala did not qualify for Copa de Oro. Curacao did, but almost half of the team tested positive for COVID, so they had to opt out of the tournament, which by default means that Guatemala
Is
entered the
in.
tournament replacing Curacao, which is like, it's so. I mean, like, if that doesn't light a fire under your ass, like to be like, bro, we're not even supposed to be here. Let's like go all out. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it should be. I think today, because yesterday El Salvador was supposed to face Curacao, so I think today was the El Salvador versus Guatemala match, if I'm not
It
mistaken.
starts in 1 hour as of recording time.
Oh, nice. We better wrap this shit up because I want to watch that.
Right.
Because for those of you who don't know, I am half Mexican, mom's side, and dad is from El Salvador. So that being said, we tend to lean heavily Mexican in this household. So, um, but yeah, any other news of the week that matters to you this week?
No, I think we're done, right? We're just
All right, soccer time. All right, what did I
uh,
watched Black Widow this week
oh, I have
and
not done that yet.
F9.
I have also not done that yet.
Guess which one I liked more? It should be pretty
F9,
badass.
baby.
It's all about family. No, I like Black Widow more. Look, if you're going into a Fast and Furious movie, you know it's gonna be ridiculous. It's gonna be goofy. Physics don't matter. Uh, just it's like a Saturday morning cartoon, but with cars and people.
And
And
spaceships.
yeah, and I liked it. It's really ridiculous. It's like the most ridiculous out of all the films so far, and that's saying a lot because this franchise is pretty ridiculous. But if you go into being like it's gonna be ridiculous, like I think you'll enjoy it. That being said, Black Widow, I really liked it. It's not my favorite film. It does feel odd, the timing of the film, considering where it takes place in the timeline and then how they released it. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
I understand because of COVID and blah 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 blah. That being said, I think it's a good story. It's definitely on the top on my top half of Marvel compared to like the lower half. You know what I mean?
So better than Captain Marvel.
Honestly, yeah, I would say I prefer Black Widow over Captain Marvel if I'm being completely honest. Um, shoot, I was about to say something else and I lost my train of thought. But anyways, I liked it. Florence Pugh was great. David Harbour was great. I mean, it's Marvel does James Bond, but with Black Widow, which I thought was really fun. Movie was it was a good time. I enjoyed it a lot.
All right.
Uh, Side note, when I went to go watch F9, I went to go watch it Thursday night with a friend, and when we were coming out of the theater, some random dude in a van goes, "Hey, did you guys watch Black Widow?" And we looked at him and we went, "No." And he goes, "Oh, that movie fucking sucks." And he drove off. No joke. And me and my friends looked at each other
Wow.
like what the fuck's up with that guy?
Did he look drunk or like
I
high or?
I don't know. It was weird that he was in a minivan, for sure, but he looked
Hmm.
like just a dude. And
All
it
right.
was just odd. We were coming out of F9. He's like, "Did you guys watch Black Widow?" No. Uh, movie fucking sucks. Like,
Drive-by
wow.
insults too.
Thank you, Drive By Critic. Nah, I will still definitely go watch the movie just the next day.
It's
So,
it's a COVID-friendly critique of the movie. Yeah.
COVID friendly, but not family friendly.
Right.
That movie fucking sucks. It was just so unwarranted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we're just coming out like, oh, F9, oh, I can't wait to see Black Widow. Did you guys see Black Widow? No. Are you listening to our conversation? Like, you weirdo.
I like how he definitely pegged you guys for like the kind of crowd that would watch Black Widow.
Or, but you know what's odd? Because we were talking about Marvel coming out of it. So I guess he heard Marvel and he just immediately thought, oh, they watch Black Widow. You know what I mean? That's why he asked us.
Uh,
But I think what's so odd about that exchange is we look at him and we go, no. And well, I'm gonna give you my opinion anyways.
but
Like
so, but like,
it's like real life Twitter. You know what I mean? Like I
yeah,
don't fucking care if you like the movie or not. Like I
I
don't
don't
know
even
you, bro.
fucking know you.
Yeah, drive off, man. It was so.
Was it? My question is, was his oh, like, did it sound like super disappointed that you didn't watch Black Widow? Like he
I mean,
wanted to share in that
that's how.
experience with you, but it was like, oh, all right, well, I'm gonna tell you anyway.
You know what? That's the way I'm remembering it. It
Yeah.
probably didn't happen that way, but that's how I'm remembering it. Which makes it funnier because I'm imagining him like in the process of like 2 seconds being like, "Oh man, these guys didn't watch Black Widow. Now my opinion doesn't matter. Wait a minute, my opinion does matter. Everyone should hear my opinion, even absolute strangers in the theater. Hey, that movie fucking sucks."
Which is exactly how Twitter happens.
Which is yeah, it's Twitter, but
Yeah.
in real life, and I mean, I just kept walking with my friend, but I really wish I had the foresight to be like nobody cares, and just walked away, or be like, no one asked you, bro, and just walk away. Like no, not everybody needs to hear your opinion, man. Like I'm sorry you hated it for whatever arbitrary reason. I personally think And yeah, film is subjective and blah blah blah. But there's some things that are just objectively good, like they're well made, and there's something to enjoy off of it. I personally think Black Widow is objectively good. It's a well made film. Now, whether it's like your favorite film or your favorite Marvel film or your favorite film, whatever, right? Everyone's gonna have different takes on it. But to be like that movie fucking sucks. I'm sorry, but that personally feels like to me like you're hating it for some artificial reason. It's a well made film. It's well acted. It's funny. Florence Pugh, Rachel Weisz, fucking David Harbour, Scarlett Johansson, like they're great. Their chemistry is great. Great action sequences, great fight choreography or however you say it. I'm fucking blanking out. The point is
Choreography. I don't know.
choreography. You're probably right. But the point is, man, like even if you don't like a film, and I think this is why you and I are like such best friends, because even if we don't like a film, we're still of the mindset of like, but we can see like the artistry behind it to be like, it's not for me, but I admit it's a good film. You know what I mean? Like Midsummer. Midsummer's not for me. I didn't personally like it, but I can tell it's a good film. You know what I mean? It's just
It's
personally,
definitely not for me.
yeah, it's not for me. It's just not for me, and that's fucking okay. Not everything has to adhere to your fucking taste, my dude. And I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the guy in the van.
No, I took personal offense to that statement right now.
That's fine.
Yeah. No, but
Yeah.
I get it. It's like The Conjuring. The Conjuring, I think, is super, like the first one, right? Fantastically well crafted.
Oh, such a good film.
Not for me. I won't watch it again.
I've watched it like 3 times.
Yeah, I won't.
I love that film. I still haven't watched the third one, which bums me out, but I'm slowly catching up to stuff. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, soccer. I watched Black Widow and F9, and you know what else I did this week?
What, David?
I read some comic books. What?
What?
Brilliant segue. I know. I'm so good with them today. Which brings us to today's topic, which is the comic book exchange. Last week we did movie exchange. This week we're doing comic book exchange.
Mm-hmm.
And for this week, Brian gave me the first 10 issues or volume 1 of Daredevil 2019. Oh god, how do you say his last name? This is
Chip Zdarsky.
Zdarsky?
Yes.
Zdarsky, written by
Zdarsky.
Zdarsky. And I gave you
Black Widow. No. The first volume of Jeff Lemire's Moon Knight.
Yes. Ooh. Oh god. All right. All right. I would probably say very similar in terms of tone. I would think like it's kind of like that the street fight action hero or whatever, superhero. I get that Daredevil has super abilities with the whole radar and echo thing, but he's still just a dude. You know what I mean? And then like Moon Knight, I wouldn't really say he had he's got mental issues. I don't know if you can really say he has superpowers. But he's also just a dude. It's like it's like the Defenders, right? That street level quote unquote superhero that Marvel has. But anyways, I like
Except
for
that
you.
Daredevil's the only one without powers. Sure.
I mean, Moon Knight doesn't have powers either. It's just pure
I'm saying
physicality.
as part of the Defenders, right? Because Luke Cage, it's like Skin of Steel, Super Strength, right?
yeah.
Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, all of them, right?
Daredevil is just like I have radar.
I can see like a bat.
Yeah, I can see like a bat. And then like Moonlight's like, "What's your superpower?" I have split personality disorder. Oh, cool.
One of them's rich though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But like one of them's rich, one of them's a taxi driver, and a god lives in my head, an Egyptian god.
Yes.
I would love to hear what you thought of what I gave you, because that to me personally is what like got me into Moon Knight, was specifically that storyline.
Okay.
I thought it was
You want me to go first?
yeah.
Okay. So I went into this cold. Right? I I knew nothing of Moon Knight, like at all. Like I knew he was a character. I kind of knew he was like considered Marvel's Batman, sort of in a way, because of I don't know. I guess the whole jumping off buildings thing, which is I don't know, it's kind of a stretch to me because it's reading this story. I'm like, this is nothing like Batman. This is nothing at all like that. So I don't know if it's like because of Jeff Lemire's take on it or whatever, but I don't know. My whole opinion of Moon Knight has changed. Um, I will say I only read the first 6 issues because that's what was collected in the volume. But my understanding is that Jeff Lemire did the first 14 issues of this run, and so I'm actually really excited to go and read the rest of it
Oh,
while I
dude,
can.
it gets it gets bonkers.
It's already bonkers.
It's already bonkers, but it gets pretty bonkers.
Yeah. So I did have to do a little bit of research because you kind of have to do a little bit of research to kind of understand like who he is. I think the story does a good enough job of kind of taking the reader through it without having to know too much history. But me as a reader, I kind of like I love origin stories, and so like I start digging for like okay why who is this character to him and what's the history there, and I go down this whole deep like rabbit hole. But it was kind of fun to like discover a new character because I stick to like what I like typically. I don't venture off of like Green Arrow, Daredevil, Teen Titans, things like that. So this was cool. It was fun. It was a whole trip. I mean, it deals with mental issues in a way that like you don't really see too much uh, in comic books, other than maybe I guess a Batman story when they deal with Arkham Asylum specifically, um, which I guess draws some comparison to Batman in that way because of this specific story, how they're dealing with orderlies and things like that in a
Yeah, yeah,
mental
yeah.
hospital. Um, but yeah, all I will say to start off is if the Moon Knight show, all right, starring Oscar Isaac, is this storyline,
Oh, dude,
take my money. Take my money now.
all
I'm
my
all
money, Marvel,
yes.
dude. And it's the fact that it's Oscar Isaac, like
Yeah,
a
it's
lot.
he's gonna like just bring it.
And I've been like they've let a couple of like leaked footage of like him practicing the choreography for the show. And I'm
Mhm.
just like I'm already like, dude, just take my money, Marvel. Like you
I mean, you already have my money, but take more of it.
take more of my money.
Yeah.
Cause like this is like I was mentioning earlier, like I again like I never knew about Moon Knight, but like I don't know, I was just on the internet one day and on Twitter probably, and someone was like, if you've never read Moon Knight, you have no idea what this character is. Read Jeff Lemire's arc, his 1 year arc with the character. And it's like everyone was raving about it. They were saying it's like the best Moon Knight's ever been. So I just jumped into it. And I immediately was like, if this is what the character's about, I'm fucking on board. Holy shit, this is so different. It's it's so I guess I compare it to Batman in the sense that it's super gritty and
Mm,
dark and kind of twisted, which Batman can be sometimes. You know what I mean? Batman can
sure.
get very dark, and who depending who's writing him, right, and how they're interpreting the rogues gallery and what have you. But it gets heavy sometimes, that Moon Knight storyline. Um, but yeah, I fucking love that 14 issue arc. It's like my favorite thing. It's not even just like Moon Knight my favorite thing, but it's just like one of my most favorite storylines in comic books. Period. Because it's just so bananas. Without giving too much away to the readers, or our
Or
listeners
to the
in this
listener.
case,
Yeah.
yeah, give like a little like a Spark Notes rendition of what the storyline is so far.
When you boil it down to it, it's dealing with mental issues. It's dealing with the theme of like what is real, what is not, or what do you perceive to be real, and what actually is real. And the story does a really good job of kind of toying with the reader. Like as the reader, you also don't know what's real, what's not. Like you kind of want to believe, but then you're like, but I don't know. Like, and I think Jeff Lemire does a really good job of really just like setting it up so that everything is unreliable. There's never anything that's super definitive, and the fact that your like your way in as a reader is through all these like so-called patients from this mental hospital just adds to the unreliability. Because like if you were going in from a doctor's point of view, then I think you would for sure have like, okay, no, this is like a doctor, PhD. That seems super reliable. But the fact that you have like four or five different points of views from like mental patients, and some of them like believe, some of them don't believe, and you're going back and forth, then you're just like, I don't know, but I'm here for the ride, but I don't know what's right, what's wrong. I don't know if it's real or if it's not. And I think it's super fun, and I'm super excited to read the rest of the run because the way that it ends, it's also like, wait, everything I just read, is that even real? Or is it a dream? Is it like what is going on?
It's bonkers, dude. So
Yeah,
basically, Moon Knight, and I always forget which was a personality that's technically the alter ego of Moon Knight. It's
Mark Spector,
Mark Spector, right? Yeah.
military guy.
Yeah, so basically, Mark Spector, aka Moon Knight, wakes up in an insane asylum, and he's being treated for his split personality disorders,
It's
and his
called dissociative identity
disso-
disorder.
associated identity disorder. And Mark Spector believes that an Egyptian god uh, gave him the mantle of Moon Knight, and he's being called by this Egyptian knight to kind of do the Egyptian god's bidding, right?
Hmm.
But the whole time, all the orderlies and doctors are being like, dude, it's not real. But for Mark, it's very real. I always loved the juxtaposition in the issues where it's like it'll show you what Mark sees, but then it'll show you what
Other people see.
other people see. And it makes Mark super unreliable where like you can't
Hmm.
trust this guy, which I think is the whole point of the character. It's like you can't trust him. Like he's off doing this vigilante nonsense and he's unreliable, which is I think that theme is kind of very similar to the storyline you gave me. But anyways, not to give too much away, it's basically that. It's basically Mark trying to like escape the asylum essentially.
Hmm.
Trying and like
The first
he's
six issues are like that. Yeah.
yeah. And I think I don't want to give too much away for you too, but I think like as the story progresses, eventually he's also grappling with the fact like, do I really believe this is happening or am I truly insane? Which I
Yeah.
think is like to me, I've never seen it done this way in a mainstream comic book. You know what I mean? It's Marvel.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And for the most part, Marvel always deals with like fantastic science fiction and like fantastic characters and whatnot. And for them to like really deal with like this kind of like issues and stuff like that, I thought was fascinating to me personally. It's like with Incredible Hulk too. When it comes to Marvel, I tend to lean towards like uh Moon Knight and Incredible Hulk and Deadpool. Those are usually like the comic books I read based off of Marvel. I've never been like a big like X-Men or Spider-Man or Iron Man or Thor or any of those guys, you know what I mean? Like I've read some Avengers issues and whatnot, but I've never really leaned into the characters in the Avengers. I've always been more of like that gritty, kind of dark, kind of twisted, like monster horror science fiction kind of thing, which I think Marvel does fucking fantastically when they really let the authors go off the rails. Um, but yeah, so essentially the comic book is that the first volume is Mark trying to escape the asylum. Anything else you want to add? What would you rate it? Did you like it, or et cetera, et cetera?
Uh, so first, I'll start off. I loved it. It's an introduction to who Moon Knight is or isn't, depending on the way you read it. Uh, yeah, it's I don't know. It was hard for me to like get into the story at first. Like the first issue, I was just like, oh, okay, like I'll like like it's interesting, but I don't know, right? And as I kept reading more and more, I'm like, oh, like I cannot put this down. Like, I think I went through like the first issue I did in one night, right before bed, and then like 2 through 6 was like just up to like 2 a.m. just like going like swiping through and through and through and through. And it really like ramps up, and you're like you get really into it. And the art itself was really great. Like I love like the like it's I think his name is Smallwood, right? Greg Smallwood. He, depending on where you are in the scenario, like it's a different kind of sort of like art style. And so like the scratches and like all that stuff for ooh, what was the god's name?
I know. I
Come
always forget his name too. It's like I always forget
come
the dude's.
uh anyways, it's the
It's
guy with
hard. It's hard
the
to say. It's
bird.
like I always say Kushnu, but that's not what it is.
But it's
Kush.
I mean it's the bird head, like the skull. The skull itself in that kind of sketchy art style is actually really cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get a little bit more definition, depending, like, little like cleaner lines as you're kind of sort of in the real world. And then at the end of issue 6, when you actually are in the real world, like it's also like just super clean artwork. And so that itself is part of the story. I love it when like the story and the art like go hand in hand.
Yeah. To where even like the art itself is toying with you. Like, is this real life
Yeah,
or is it not? Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but when he exits the asylum, he sees the world covered in sand and pyramids, right?
yeah.
So when you look at that final panel, I think that final panel is like a little bit of both, right? It's like a little sketchy, but it's also very clear. So it kind of shows you like Mark himself is like not sure anymore of what he's perceiving is real or not real.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Which I think is very interesting that the comic book does that. But yeah, you got to read the rest of that arc, dude. That arc is fucking fantastic. It's so good.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm glad you liked it. I'm
I
very
did.
glad you liked it.
All right. What did you think of Daredevil?
Zdarsky's Daredevil.
Yes.
So technically you gave me volume 1, which is really 2 storylines. It's hold on. I'm terrible with memorizing stuff cuz my brain isn't what it used to be. Let me
Same.
see. Let me see here. Blah, 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 blah. Where is it? I saved it on my app too. All right. So I think the first storyline in Daredevil 2019. So Zdarsky wrote it. The artist I think is Julian Tedesco. Am I saying that right? Julian Tedesco. But the first storyline is called No Fear.
Yes.
Know, and then No Fear. And essentially, just to give a little synopsis to the listeners, it's Daredevil after getting hit by a truck. And he's kind of recuperated, like he's out of the hospital, he's just trying to find his like bearings again in the world. And he's trying to be Daredevil again. Apparently a lot of things happened before this that I didn't know about, like Daredevil was mayor, and then he wasn't, and then he was bad, and then he wasn't. But essentially, Fisk is mayor. I don't know how that happens, but okay. And Daredevil's no longer a lawyer. He's a parole officer. And he's trying to be Daredevil again, but he's kind of not. Like, he's kind of lost his edge a little bit in this comic book storyline. And essentially, the first storyline is he's grappling with the fact that he may or may not, I won't give it away, but he may or may not have killed somebody in the act of his vigilantism. Someone he fought, some crooks stealing a store, died after he beat him up on the way to the hospital, and he's grappling with the fact, or he's trying to, if he did or didn't, if he did it or didn't, and he's looking for like clues as to whether or not he did or didn't. And then because Wilson Fisk is mayor, there's like an initiative to arrest any vigilantes in New York City. So all the heroes in New York are kind of on the run. They're kind of not. And it's interesting. It was giving me like the show Daredevil, which I love that show on Netflix. I'm bummed we only got 3 seasons, but I love that show. It was really giving me like season 3 vibes, where it's like it's Daredevil kind of like grappling with like himself, his calling, what he thinks his purpose is, his meaning is as like a vigilante, grappling with his faith, believing that like why would God give me these abilities if not to use them? Grappling with his morality, grappling with his like
Faith.
his faith, his persona as Daredevil, but also like his persona as Matt Murdock, grappling with his friends. It's basically a hero in crisis, essentially, right? He's unsure of himself, and I thought it was interesting. I've surprisingly realized I haven't read that much like Daredevil comic books. I know of the character and I've read some stuff, but I can't remember it. Daredevil to me personally has never really like stuck in my head because I've always this is unfair, right? And I'm admitting it's unfair, but to me he's always seemed like Batman light. You know what I mean? Where he's like he's like kind of dark, kind of gritty. He beats the shit out of the villains and stuff like that. He's very good because he's a lawyer. He's very good at figuring stuff out, kind of like a detective almost. To me, Daredevil, the comparisons of Daredevil and Batman always felt more like I can see that compared to like Moon Knight and Batman, for example.
Hmm.
So Daredevil always kind of felt that to me. But I think what I love about what the series kind of let me realize and what this comic book let me realize is like I love the whole Catholic um quality about him. And like I feel like Daredevil for the most part, the people who write Daredevil kind of understand like what I feel actual Catholics go through. What because like he's always grappling with the fact of like he knows he's quote unquote sinning, but he can't stop sinning, right? Which is
Hmm.
as a Catholic, you're kind of taught that like we're not supposed to sin, but as human beings, we're prone to sin. Or, essentially, it's like even though we're trying to do good, sometimes we end up doing bad. We don't mean to do it, but human nature is flawed, and it just happens. We have to ask for reconciliation or forgiveness.
Yeah, I
Now,
think. Sorry to cut you off, but I
no,
think
go for it.
you hit a good point where like of like any comic book character that I'm personally familiar with, I think Daredevil has the most dichotomy, right? Like he's a lawyer by day, vigilante by night. He's like an overall like all about like doing the right thing, but he's also kind of a playboy. Like he's a little bit of both, right? He's this and that. He's not one thing or the other. He's the most I think colored character in that way where you can, depending on how you're writing him, you can really just explore so much with Daredevil. And that's what I gravitate towards because it's that whole character building of like I don't know, like his stories that the ones that I've liked aren't they're not so much like action packed, but they deal with who Matt Murdock is as a character.
I was good. I was definitely gonna say, not a lot of action
Yeah.
in two storylines because you gave me 10 issues. No fear and no gods, only devils. I think is the one that immediately follows this one,
Hmm.
and that one is just him. It's Matt Murdock. They call it Daredevil, but it's really Matt Murdock's story because he kind of gives up the mantle of being Daredevil in the later 4 or 5 issues. Um, but yeah, I did appreciate that. It's a lot of character building. It's not him doing. There's some vigilanteism. Like
Hmm.
he gets into some shit. Um, but it's mostly him just dealing with himself, which I thought was very interesting. And I will admit, honestly, not to say that other comic books don't do it, but mostly if we're doing the Batman comparison, right? With Batman, it's almost always the villain of the arc or the issue at hand. Very rarely do you get a Batman comic book storyline that deals with the man behind the mask. You know what I mean? It's always the guy wearing the mask solving a crime or solving a mystery or blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? Because Batman as a character has always been very defined and he's always very sure of himself. It's like, in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight, he's the immovable object. You know what I mean? Batman never
Mhm.
really falters in his convictions. And what I like about Daredevil, and this is where the comparison obviously to Batman falls off, is he's never sure of himself. He's very human in that sense. And
Very
what I what
Catholic.
when I love, yeah, I was about to say what I love even more is like he's one of the few characters I literally I was trying to think of it and I couldn't think of anybody else who has a faith, and it's a very honest portrayal of how he struggles with that faith. Whereas like people of any faith, right? It doesn't have to be Catholicism or Christianity. People of any faith, we all tend to struggle with it because it's just human nature to struggle with stuff you believe in. Even hell, like as a musician, I tend to struggle with my career choices. I'm sure you as a cook tend to
Hmm.
struggle with your career choices and what you think is right for you. You know what I mean? And I think, especially with the storyline, I think it's kind of beautiful how they show it and they don't shy away from the fact like this guy's he's a hero, but he's not a good person. He's not a bad person, but he's not technically a good person either. Because also,
Hmm.
he kind of is the other man in an affair later on with the lady from the bookstore, which is a whole other thing I won't get into. But that kind of made me go, "Oh man, you're a piece of shit."
Yeah,
when the,
he kind of
when
is.
when he did that, I was like, "You're kind of a piece of shit, bro." like, but it's him struggling with that, where he doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know where he stands in this new world with his new um with his recovery and what have you. So I thought it was interesting. Much like you, I read like one or two issues. Like I read like one issue one night, and then I read like two issues the next night. And the following night, I just kind of read like 7 issues back to back to back.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, but now here's the thing. I don't know if I want to continue. If I'm being honest,
Hmm.
just because I kind of don't like the character, because he did kind of. I did kind of end up finishing the story. I was like, "You're kind of a piece of shit." I don't know if I want to see like where this leads, and I don't know if it's. I don't think it's the character because, like I mentioned, I fucking love Netflix's Daredevil series. Like I truly, genuinely love that series. So I know I like the character. I'm just not sure if I'm on board with this particular author's arc. And I know you're probably gonna say there's a payoff. There's a reason why he's a piece of shit. You just got to go through it. But I'm trying to be like, but do I want to go through it?
Mm, I get it.
You know
No,
what I
I
mean?
get. I think Chip Zdarsky definitely leans in very hard into that piece of shit side of Matt Murdock, for sure. But I think it makes sense for the storyline because there's this thing in for Daredevil writers, right? When a writer comes off of Daredevil, it's been a tradition that you have to leave Daredevil in a really like a really shitty position for like the next writer coming on to basically solve and like try to do something with it. And so when like Zdarsky came on, like yeah, he basically is like, well, you left Daredevil hit by a
A
truck.
truck. Yeah.
What am I supposed to do with that? And so yeah, you're like, okay, great. So he's basically hit rock bottom, like below rock bottom. So this is where we're gonna start. This is like the crisis. Uh, it's obviously the crisis is always to be part of Matt Murdock, but it's expanded tenfold because of what just happened. Right? It's a really really dark. It's the darkest place I think that Matt Murdock has been in his life, and so it's he does take it in a direction where like it does pay off. But it's like when I read Harry Potter, I kind of hated Harry for most
Fair.
of the. Yeah, I
Fair.
hated it,
That's
but you
fair.
gotta finish it. You gotta finish it.
I would argue the darkest moment of Matt Murdock's life is when he became leader of the Hand, but because he started fucking killing people. You know what I mean? he kind of gave up his convictions. But that's neither here or there.
Mm. You may have a point though. That Shadowland story arc is pretty good. Though. I really like the
Yeah.
Shadowland.
But I mean, I read it. I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna say I didn't. It wasn't like a chore to read through it. It wasn't that. I'm just like not sure if I'm on board with what they're doing with the character. But that
Hmm.
being said, I'm not intimate with the character compared to you, right? Because like you said too, right? And I'm the same way. I tend not to venture out too much of like my chosen comic books, like Batman,
Hmm.
Green Lantern, Moon Knight, Hulk. You know what I mean? So, um, I'll probably keep reading it. I have issue 11 like on my Marvel app, so I might continue reading it. I might jump back into my Incredible Hulk storyline because I've been really digging that one a lot. But yeah, I liked it. I'm just not sure about the character, which is I know that's like an
Yeah.
odd thing. It makes you think like, oh, you didn't like it. I did like it. I'm just not sure if I'm on board with the character and what they're doing with it. That's really it. I'm just like, I don't know if I want to figure this out with Matt. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
I'm sorry.
How much? No, how much of that do you think is though like your own struggles with your faith?
Honestly, zero. It's really
It's
more. If I'm being
it's
honest,
really just Matt.
it's really Matt. It's just the hypocrisy of it and the fact
Hmm.
that he and the again the book does this really well of like pointing out like you're supposed to be a hero and you're doing all these awful things and breaking the law and being a terrible person, and then in real life as Matt Murdock is like you're supposed to be a good guy and here you are like having an affair and like you know what I mean? Like you know better and you choose not to do better, which again I know is like a very human characteristic and it's like yeah, that's all of us and like yeah, I know. But at the same time, sometimes it's like I don't want a mirror reflected onto me. Like I get it. Sometimes I'm a piece of shit too. Like yeah, we all done stuff that we're like I knew better but I didn't do that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm in a weird conundrum. Uh I probably honestly, if I'm really thinking about it, if I find myself being like, "What do I want to do?" I'll probably whip it up and like keep reading it just to be like, "All right, let me see where this goes." Like, but just right now, finishing those two storylines, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to find out. That's really it. Like, I
Hmm.
don't know if I want to continue this particular storyline.
Remind me, in those first 10 issues, does he sit down and play chess with Mr. Fantastic?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he asked Mr. Fantastic, "Do you believe in God?" And
Yes.
essentially, Mr. Fantastic's like, "I'm agnostic. I don't know, but I've seen some weird shit to be like maybe."
Yeah, but he also says like is your belief in the interpreted word of God or in the morals and lessons that it teaches you?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was very poignant in like kind of like that's the question of faith, right? Is it do you believe like the interpreted word like word for word basically, or do you just believe in the lessons you take from it?
Yeah, if you
Because
believe like
there
if
are
you
some
believe
people
it,
that are like the Bible is like
it's
the
history.
law. Yeah.
We call those people fundamentalists. And look, as a Catholic, you're not supposed to be a fundamentalist. As a Catholic, you're supposed to know that for the most part, the Bible, especially like Genesis, for example, is myth. It's not factual. But some people take it as fact and they're fundamentalists. But Catholics
Mhm.
aren't supposed to be that. Now there are Catholics who are that, unfortunately. And then when they get confronted with the truth, like, but it's not history. It's supposed to teach you that God made the world and blah blah blah. And then they lose their minds over it. But that's a different discussion for a different podcast. That's a whole big can of worms that we don't. I don't know if we want to open up in our little comic book discussion. But
That's
yeah,
fair.
no, but even then, like going back to that, like even Matt himself reading it, even him, I'm like, I don't even think he knows the answer for himself. You know what I mean? Like he's not sure.
No. I don't think he's ever going to really know the answer.
Which again, I get it. Oh, he's very human. All right, great. But I'm reading Marvel.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like I'm reading comic books. I'm not reading like a very poignant drama novel or whatever. You know, I'm reading a fucking comic book. Like give me, I don't know. Maybe it's just my mood too. I don't know. Which
Give you
again,
something
some
fantastical.
yeah. Pun not intended, considering he was talking to Mr. Fantastic.
Yes.
But anyways, anything else we should add? I feel
I
like
don't think so.
I feel like I ended in such a sour note. Like I don't know. It was good, but I don't know if I like it.
Which honestly is the most Daredevil response you can give, right? It's the most duality.
That's very true. That's actually the irony is that's very true.
Yeah.
Um, my friend, where can the people find you?
On Instagram at Kuno_stars. And David, where can the good listener find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, twitch.tv/DavidBitMusic21. Also, go check out my music on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, wherever you stream your music, David B Music. And catch me in California in 2 weeks, baby. Let's go. Well, I say 2 weeks, but is it 2 weeks? About 2 weeks. 2-ish
About,
weeks.
more or less. Two and a
Yeah.
half.
2.5. Yeah. Alrighty, that's an episode. Ladies and gentlemen, what comic books do you like? What comic books do you want to recommend for us? Leave it in that comment section down below. If you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. Let other people know about us because we could really use word of mouth. And yeah, comic
That's
books.
it.
Go read them. Yeah. Join us next week when we don't know what the topic is. We'll see you next week. All right, 3, 2, 1. That was close.
Maybe. That was pretty
close. That was pretty good.
good. I'll watch the replay back.